Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a member of Congresswoman Demings' staff. Thank you for joining our live telephone town hall to discuss financial relief and what to expect as the tax season has started. We host these events to give Congresswoman Demings a chance to speak directly with you and to answer as many of your questions as possible. Tonight, we're joined by some terrific panelists who are ready to answer any questions you may have on the 2021 tax season and the financial relief that is coming from DC. Before we turn to our panelists, I do want to turn to the Congresswoman, but first I want to note that if you have a specific case with the IRS or another federal issue, our panelists will not be able to discuss the details of that case. So if you do need direct assistance, please call our office during business hours at 321-388-9808. And please do remember to press *3 on your phones if you have a question. *3 will put you in the queue to ask your question. Our staff will take it down. And then when I call your name, you'll be live on the call to ask it to our panelists. I now have the great pleasure of turning our call over to Congresswoman Val Demings of the 10th District.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. And let me just say good evening to all of you and let you know it is my pleasure to be joined by you tonight to connect you with expert panelists who can address questions and concerns regarding pandemic relief or tax season and other IRS issues. However, first I want to give you a quick update on vaccines here in Orange County. It is extremely important that everyone gets vaccinated. It's extremely important that we all get vaccinated. Currently, individuals over 65 are eligible, as this is the group with the worst impact from the disease. The best way to get access right now is through a participating drugstore. You can find the list of those participating drugstores on our website. Before we turn to our amazing panelists, I do want to give you a quick update on where things stand in Washington. As you all know, last year, Congress passed several major pieces of legislation to bring financial relief to individuals and our small businesses. Our goal was to keep families financially stable during this pandemic and to help small businesses that were struggling. This year, we are now proceeding with additional financial relief, which you all know President Biden has said he supports, including increasing the $600 up to $2,000 by adding $1,400 to it. We're also working to help the administration expand access to the vaccine and to other critical programs to get us out of this pandemic. So that is where things currently stand, and hopefully we will move swiftly. We know that the much-needed relief is desperately needed. Now, I do want to take just a moment to thank our amazing panelists who have joined us tonight, who will answer questions that you may have about taxes, financial relief, and the IRS. Again, thank you all again for joining us tonight. And now, Daniel, I'll turn it back over to you to introduce our panelists.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. First up, I want to turn to Ms. Linda Berkman. Linda is the Congressional Liaison with the Internal Revenue Service, and I will turn now to Linda to introduce herself and her expertise. Linda, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Daniel. Good evening. I'd like to thank Congresswoman Demings for the opportunity to share IRS information during these unusual and challenging times. As you told, my name is Linda Berkman, and I'm the IRS Congressional District Liaison for Florida. I'm going to talk tonight about the economic impact payments, otherwise known as stimulus payments, the recovery rebate credit, the start of the filing season, and IRS operations. IRS is now opening mail within normal timeframes. The IRS has also made significant progress in processing tax returns. As of January 29, 2021, we had 6.7 million individual tax returns in the processing pipeline. For refunds that could not be issued in 2020 because the tax return is being corrected, reviewed, or awaiting correspondence from a taxpayer, the refund will be issued as a paper check in 2021 per our normal processes. Taxpayers are encouraged to continue to check Where's My Refund on IRS.gov for their personalized refund status. So how long will you have to wait? It depends on where you sent your tax return and where it is in the process. We are processing tax returns we received over the summer due to the extended July 15th tax filing due date, and in some cases are processing tax returns dated as early as July 15th, 2020. Tax returns are opened in the order they are received. As the return is processed, it may be delayed because it has a mistake, is missing information, or there is a suspected identity theft or fraud. If we can fix it without contacting you, we will. If we need more information or need you to verify that it was you who sent the tax return, we will write you a letter. Other than responding to any requests for information promptly, there is no action that you need to take. We're working hard to get through the backlog, so please don't file a second tax return or contact the IRS about the status of your return. Due to staffing issues, processing paper returns could take several weeks longer. Any refunds on a 2019 tax return not received by April 15, 2020 would receive interest from April 15th to the date of the refund if the tax return was filed no later than the extended due date of July 15th, 2020. I know everybody is interested in the economic impact payments and the recovery rebate credit, so I'm going to talk a little about that now. The first economic impact payment was part of the CARES Act, and the second economic impact payment was part of the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. The first economic impact payment had to be issued by December 31st, 2020, and the second by January 15th, 2021. Most eligible individuals have already received the full amount in 2 rounds of economic impact payments. However, some may not have received the payments or the full amount they were entitled to receive. So what actions do you need to take if you did not receive one or both of the economic impact payments? If you're eligible for the credit and either we didn't issue you any economic impact payments or we issued less than the full amounts, you must file a 2020 tax return to claim the recovery rebate credit, even if you are not required to file a tax return. You can file a Form 1040 or, for seniors, a Form 1040-SR. The Recovery Rebate Credit Worksheet in the Form 1040 instructions can help you determine if you are eligible for the credit and how much you are entitled to. Upon completion of the worksheet, you would claim the Recovery Rebate Credit on line 30 of Form 1040. As I stated earlier, and I do want to state it again, even if you have no income and no filing requirement, you will still need to file a tax return to claim the recovery rebate credit if you did not receive the economic impact payment, either economic impact payment 1 or 2 or both of them. Neither the economic impact payment, if you received it, or the recovery rebate credit are included in your income when filing your tax return. This means you do not pay tax on the amount you are eligible to receive. If you file electronically, this tax software will help you calculate your recovery rebate credit. IRS.gov provides detail about a program called IRS Free File, Free Tax Preparation with the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program known as VITA, that's VITA, or TCE, Tax Counseling for the Elderly. Anyone with income of $72,000 or less can file their federal tax return electronically for free through the IRS Free File program. The fastest way to get your refund is to file electronically and have it direct deposited into your financial account. You can use a bank account or prepaid debit card for your direct deposit, and you will need to provide the routing and account numbers. The IRS homepage at irs.gov has a link to the link is called File Your Taxes for Free, and this link will direct you to several options and software companies for electronically filing your tax return at no cost if you meet the criteria. The VITA program offers free tax help to those with incomes of $57,000 or less, along with people with disabilities and taxpayers who speak limited English. If you are unable to search on IRS.gov for VITA locations near you, the phone number is 1-800-906-9887. You want to file a paper return and you need the tax forms, such as the 1040 and instructions, you can download them at irs.gov, or you can order them online at irs.gov under Order Forms and Publications, or if you don't have access to the Internet, you can call 1-800-829-3676 to request forms by mail. It takes approximately 10 days to receive them. As a matter of fact, I ordered forms on February 2nd, and I received them on February 12th. I do want to remind you the fastest way to get a refund is by electronically filing your tax return and requesting direct deposit. So what do you need to know about filing season, which has begun? The IRS began processing tax returns on Friday, February 12th, but before you file, there is some information you need to know, as well as a number of changes this year. Filing electronically, whether you use a preparer or IRS free file, which lets you prepare and file your federal income tax online for free, reduces the risk of errors and gets a refund to you faster, especially, like I said, if you request direct deposit. If you request direct deposit and provide your bank account information on the tax return, you might be looking at about 3 weeks or earlier to receive a refund. A paper check could add another several weeks for that refund. And you can go to irs.gov and go to check Where's My Refund. If you are checking Where's My Refund, you will need your Social Security number, your filing status, and your exact refund amount. You can check your refund status 24 hours after electronically filing, but you can expect extended delays if you mail your tax return. We update Where's My Refund daily, usually overnight. Another thing I want to remind you is you have to keep in mind interest on refunds is taxable. Taxpayers who received a federal tax refund in 2020 may have been paid interest. Refund interest payments are taxable and must be reported on federal income tax returns. In January, the IRS sent Form 1099-INT to anyone who received interest on their refund totaling $10 or more. I'd like to just go over some changes of what's new this year. For cash charitable contributions, if you made cash charitable contributions, you no longer have to do an itemized return. If you take the standard deduction, you can take up to $300 of charitable contributions made in 2020 to qualifying organizations. There has also been a change to the Educator expense deduction. Teachers who purchased PPE or personal protective equipment for the classroom can include the expense as an Educator expense deduction. The Educator expense deduction rules permit eligible educators to deduct up to $250 of unreimbursed qualified expenses per year. $500 if married filing jointly and both spouses are eligible educators, but not more than $250 each. This deduction is for expenses paid or incurred during the 2020 tax year. Eligible educators include any individual who is a kindergarten through grade 12 teacher, instructor, counselor, principal, or aide in a school for at least 900 hours during a school year. So since you can claim PPE as an educator expense, I just want to go over that the COVID-19 protective items include, but are not limited to, face masks, disinfectants for use against COVID-19, hand soap, hand sanitizer, disposable gloves, physical barriers, air purifiers, and any other items recommended by the Centers for Disease Control to be used for the prevention of the spread of COVID-19 in the class or in the school. If you worked from home and are an employee, meaning you receive a W-2 for wages, you cannot deduct the home office expenses. However, if you are self-employed running a business, you can deduct those expenses. To go on, unemployment benefits. If you received unemployment benefits in 2020, the amount received is includable in income and is taxable. I'd like to take a minute now to talk about unscrupulous tax preparers. You have to be very careful when selecting a tax preparer to file your tax return. If you choose to have a preparer prepare your return. By law, anyone who is paid to prepare or assists in preparing federal tax returns must have a valid preparer tax identification number, or PTIN. Paid preparers must sign and include their PTIN on their return. Not signing a return is definitely a red flag that the paid preparer may be looking to make a fast buck by promising a big refund or charging fees based upon the size of the refund.
Hello, Miss
Yeah.
Linda. Linda, this is
Yeah.
Congresswoman Demings. We want to go ahead and hear just very briefly from the other two presenters, and then we're going to come back around with questions. Thank you so much. I mean, the information that you're giving is so valuable, but we do want to hear just a brief kind of introductory remarks from our other two presenters, and then we will come back around. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to go now to Professor Jones at FAMU College of Law.
Okay, good evening, Congresswoman, and thank you for including me on this important call. My name is Darryll Jones. I teach federal income tax and partnership tax, business, corporate tax, and taxation of charities at the Florida A&M University College of Law here in Orlando, Florida. I also previously supervised our volunteer income tax assistance students who participated in the program last year through our clinic. And in general, I've been following the sort of the tax laws with regard to the various sorts of benefits and loans and things that have been enacted under the previous administration, as well as the proposal that President Biden is putting forth right now. So I'm happy to be involved, and I look forward to the conversation.
Great, thank you so much. And before we go to our last panelist, just a reminder for everybody on the call, if you do have a question for our panel, press *3 on your phone. And everybody on the call should go ahead and press 1 on your phone to make sure that you can get additional information on this topic and others from our office. So our last panelist is Ms. Yvette Artis-Britt, and I will go to you now to introduce yourself.
Hello. Just like you were informed, my name is Yvette Artis-Britt. I am the local taxpayer advocate in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been with Internal Revenue Service for 33 years. And the last 20 with the Taxpayer Advocate Service. And what we do, we are there to help you and be your voice at Internal Revenue Service when you try to resolve whatever issue or concern you have and you haven't been able to do it. That's why we're there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that.
Doing an introduction? I was just doing an
introduction. I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, that's right.
I was just doing an introduction. Okay, all right. Thank you.
And we'll go straight into questions now. Thank you. We're glad to have you here. We'll just go straight into questions now to give constituents a chance to talk to the three of you about the issues that are important to them right now. And our first question is going to be Ms. Sharon Alexander in Orlando. You are now live. Ms. Alexander, do we have you on the line?
Hello, sorry I had you on mute. Excuse me.
Hi.
Hi.
Please go ahead.
Happy Taco Tuesday. Hey, just so the CARES Act for the stimulus checks for the $1,200 and the $600, I did receive that as I was laid off from the pandemic as a lot of people were. But my question is, do I have to pay taxes on that money?
Hi, this is Linda Berkman with IRS. No, that money is not included in your income, so therefore you do not pay taxes on the economic impact payments. Thank you for that question. It was a great question.
Great, and I'll go now to our next question, and just a reminder for folks who are in the queue to ask a question, once you ask your question, you will be remuted on the call, so if you have a follow-up, you would not be able to ask that. So if you have, make sure you say everything you want to say in your initial question. And we'll go now to Bill in Winter Garden. Bill, you are live.
Yeah, hi, thanks. My wife Susan and I had a quick question about Notice 1444 for the economic impact payment. We're apparently supposed to get that to reflect the payments that we have received. Glad to know they're not taxable, but we never got that notice in the mail or anything. So is there anything else we should do?
We did get a direct deposit.
Yeah, we got the direct deposits, but we didn't get the notice. So what should we do about that? Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
This
Okay.
is Yvette Artis-Britt.
Thank you.
If you didn't get the notice, there's no problem, as long as you got the payment. Yes, the notice was just an awareness that it went out to you.
Perfect. All right, our next question will be Mr. Garcia in Orlando. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. I have two questions, and good afternoon. I have two questions in relation to the tax filing. For those people that already filed, and for example, I filed, and then 5 days later, I received the stimulus that I was not expecting because I was informed that there was a deadline, but I claimed that stimulus on my file return. What will be the process to fix that?
Okay, this is Linda Berkman again. Thank you for that question. It is a very good question. When your return is processed, and I can't say 100%, but it'll show up that you received the payment, so you shouldn't receive another payment. You might receive a notice indicating that, you made a mistake on your return because the payment had already been sent to you.
Great. I'd like to go now to Thomas Nguyen in Windermere. You are now live, sir.
Hello, this is Tom. I'd like to thank Congresswoman Demings for the town hall. It's kind of timely for me. Just today, I received an audit letter from the IRS regarding a AMT tax credit, which they disallowed. I retired in 2010 with a large buyout, and so I paid an alternative minimum tax that year. Every year subsequent, I've always used TurboTax, and TurboTax has been rolling forward an AMT tax credit based on the 2010 alternative minimum tax that I paid. I just received this letter that IRS said I didn't pay an alternative minimum tax in 2017, which was true. So they disallowed my alternative minimum tax credit for 2018. My question is relatively simple. Should I call the IRS number on the form and discuss the issue with him? Or should I talk to a tax attorney for advice? Or should I just send them in copies of my 10 tax returns that show the carryover, the alternative tax credit?
This is Yvette Artis-Britt. First, if there is a number on the notice you received, I would contact that number first and explain what's going on, and they may request copies of the return. If after a reasonable amount of time, let's say possibly 8 weeks, they are backlogged, and you haven't received a response or a response that you're disagreeing with, then you can reach out directly to the Taxpayer Advocate Service or to Congresswoman Demings' office, and they can create a case for you, which they'll refer to our office, the Taxpayer Advocate Service.
Great. And this is Daniel with Congresswoman Demings' office. And just to remind folks who don't have it on hand, our number, if you do need to get in touch with us for constituent service, is 321-388-9808. And I'd like to go now to a question from Miss Mack in Orlando. You are now live. Do we have Miss Mack? All right, looks like we may have lost her. Let's go to Miss Golden in Orlando. You are now live to ask a question.
Good evening, and I too would like to thank you for having this meeting here. My question is, how can I get in touch with IRS? In October, I did a 501c3. I've been trying to get an EIN number. I've been online. They gave me a reference number. I've been calling. I went up to the Maitland office 3 times. There's a number for making appointments, and when I call it, it takes me back to the 1040 number telling me that to get in touch the next day. And this has been going on since October. The website was down. The website came back up, and I submitted it again, and I just have not had any success.
This is Linda Berkman. Thank you. Yes, thank you, and I'm sorry that you're not having success with this. I think that your best line of defense right now would be to contact Congresswoman Demings' office and provide them with the privacy release and any documents you have that you've submitted, and then they can forward it to me, and I can elevate your issue.
I'd like to go now to a question from Mr. Boy and Dr. Phillips. You are now live.
Yes. Hello. Again, thanks for the opportunity. My question is, I also have not received the 1444 form, and I may be confused, but I am pretty sure that in the form, on the 1040, it asks for me to record the number that was on the 1444. And since I don't have that form, what number would I put in there? I did receive the 24 and the $1,200, but like I say, there's no 1444 on that.
This is Linda. Thank you for your question. The Notice 1444 just has the information of how much you received for the economic impact payment. As long as you know how much you received and you've received the full amount, then you're not required to file or send in or do anything with the 1444, with the Notice 1444. I hope that was the answer that you needed.
Right. So this is Daniel. So if I'm understanding you correctly, the number that goes in that box is the number that was received by the individual. It's not some other number that's on the form.
The number that would be on the form is the number that is the amount of money that the individual received, was sent.
Perfect. All right. Let's go now to Ms. Thompson in Orlando. You are now live.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Demings and Daniel and the tax speakers. I did receive the first economical package. I did not receive the $600 or the $1,200. Also, my 2019 income tax, I did not receive that as well. So I don't really know what to do moving forward with those issues.
Thank you. Moving forward, go on, Yvette.
No, I was just going to say, moving forward, what I would do, I would contact Congresswoman Demings' office. They could create a case for you and refer it over to our office, the Taxpayer Advocate Service. We'll look into it to see what is going on. Now, one of the problems is that IRS is still backlogged. They are only working correspondence, which includes payments, returns, maybe no responses that people are responding to notices they received. and they were only up to July 15th, so they are backlogged. If you filed the return prior to that period, then fine, we may be able to move it forward. But if you filed the 2019 return after July 15th, there's still a wait. They are still working with limited staffing. But the bottom line, contact Congresswoman Demings' office to get a Taxpayer Advocate Service case referral.
And I'd like to say, to piggyback on that, if you did not receive the economic impact payment, either the first one or the second one, then you would still need to file a 2020 tax return to claim the recovery rebate credit. Thank you.
Great.
Daniel,
oh, yes.
Am I being heard?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I was just do I have to hit 3 before I talk? Because I've been talking. I don't think I've been.
No. You are good. Please go ahead.
Okay. No, I will add to the information about the caller who was asking about the EIN number for her charitable organization. I mean, I'm looking at the screen right now, and you can go to irs.gov and file for your EIN number online and get it pretty much immediately if you have the information that is requested. And I'll stop there.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. We'll go now to a question from Ken in Orlando. Ken, you are now live.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you, Congresswoman Demings, for hosting this event. My wife and I have 3 sons who have been directly impacted by the pandemic and have been unemployed since last March. They've received little help from the government, and only one was able to get unemployment for a limited time. Since they're financially upside down, my wife and I drained our savings account to help them pay their bills and keep them from becoming destitute. So here's my question. Are there any tax implications for my wife and I for giving them financial help, or are there any tax implications for them receiving the help?
Great. That's a great question. Thank you, Ken. Professor Jones, would you like to handle this?
Yeah. I mean, if you're providing more than 50% of their support, of course, you can claim them as dependents. As far as their tax liability for the support that you've been giving them, I mean, I don't have all the details, but my initial hypothesis, which I think is a safe hypothesis, is that would be tax-free to them because those are gifts from you to your children. And so they would not have to report that as income because it's a gift.
I agree with you that it wouldn't be that taxable to them. You are just helping provide support. And if you're trying to claim them as a dependent, you want to be careful that you're meeting the relationship test, the income and relationship test. So
that's correct. Yeah.
Great. And just a reminder to everybody on the line, if you have a question, press *3 on your phone. I do see we have a lot of people still waiting in the queue, so thank you for your patience. We appreciate that, and we will get to all of you eventually. Let's go now to Ms. Swanson in Orlando. You are now live.
Hi. Okay, so my question was, if you owe like the IRS, in my situation, I owe the IRS like $2,000 and need that in the mail. I'm not even really sure what it's for, but I was wondering this year, tax return, is there a way that could be waived, or do you have to pay that on this year's tax return? And then, yeah, that's it.
Well, in general, the IRS will work with you to set up a payment plan. I think if you're expecting a refund this year, they may apply that refund to any amounts owed for prior years. I don't know when you received your notice, but I mean there is a provision of time in which you could sort of talk with the IRS to see and make sure that their calculation of your tax liability is correct. And if you disagree, there are certain other procedural rights that you may have been able to invoke. It sounds like that time period might have run already, but certainly there's a number on the notice of deficiency that you can call and begin the conversation And it's been my experience that they're not looking to be adversarial with you. They're really looking to help and clear the case. So I would encourage you to start the communication process. But yeah, they can just set up a payment plan for you, or if you're expecting a refund, they may just apply your refund to any taxes owed.
Can I? This is Yvette, and I'd like to piggyback on that. You are correct. They can set her up on a payment plan, but no matter what, if you owe, they're going to take your refund. But if you can establish that you've got a hardship that can be validated, you may be able to issue the refund to bypass your debt. It's called an offset bypass refund. But you have to establish that you have a hardship and qualify in order to get that refund. But even if they set you up on an installment agreement, they're still going to offset your money to the past due amount.
Great. Let's go now to Ms. Vasquez in Zellwood. You are now live to ask your question. Ariana in Zellwood, are you with us? All right, looks like we may have lost her. Let's go to Pat House. You are now live.
Hi, and I also want to thank the Congresswoman for sharing her time with us for this. And I have kind of a two-part question. And one, I just want to verify that the April payment and then for the stimulus, and then also the one we received in January, they both go on to the IRS tax form for determining the credit or not, depending on if you received all of it. Since we're cash basis taxpayers and we received the money in January, I was kind of wondering about that. And secondarily, Orange County itself had a CARES Act program where you could get $1,000 if you qualified because of the impact of COVID. And I'm wondering if that $1,000 is taxable.
Great question. Yeah, as far as your economic impact payments that you receive both of them, which is great, they're not taxable income, so they don't have to be claimed on your tax return as income. As far as the Orange County payments, I'm not familiar with that, so I don't know the taxability of it.
Yeah, I think the federal payments are actually advance payments of tax credits. So the first speaker is correct that those are not taxable. If there is not a provision in the federal statute that exempts a payment from a local government, then you probably should at least disclose it on your return, maybe as an addendum or something, and explain, and then allow the IRS to opine on it. And then if you disagree, you can take it up then. But I would not omit it unless you can identify a specific federal statute that says payments from local governments shall not be considered income.
And I'd just like to add, you can contact Congressman Demings' office with your question and your specifics on it, and we can get it researched to get you an answer on that.
Yes. Yes.
And as a reminder, our number for the Orlando office of Congresswoman Demings is 321-388-9808. All right, let's go now to Susan in Orlando. Susan, you are live.
Hi there. Thank you so much for taking my question, and thank you so much for the opportunity to ask it. So I have an interesting situation. I was just recently, at the end of January, let go from my job of 9 years, right after the small business owner that I worked for, right after his PPP loan was forgiven and the Family First Coronavirus Act expired. I also lost both my parents over the last 6 months due to complications with COVID. And kind of being of the advocacy mind and unifying the country, I am a real estate broker, and I actually went through the whole real estate crash in 2008. So these PPP loans, I'm thinking, is going to be have the same possible effect with foreclosures and things like that. So as a real estate broker, I thought instead of looking for a job during my severance, I would reopen my company and try to do it in time so that I could help people stay in their homes and if possible. So are there any programs out there for displaced workers or laid off, terminated workers who want to open their own companies? And if Professor Jones could maybe speak to that as well, I would greatly appreciate that.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Great question, and our serious sympathies about your parents. Professor Jones?
Yeah. I don't want to speculate. I just don't know the answer to that. I guess I would, you could begin by there's a website called it's a government website that lists all sorts of benefits, particularly with regard to benefits that have been enacted in response to the pandemic. It's called benefits.gov, and I would start there. There's a link on that page called Benefit Finder, and it does have there's another link called Unemployment Assistance, but I'm not specifically aware of any resources designed to help displaced workers or people impacted by the pandemic to start their own business, although I would be surprised if they're not. But I would start at benefits.gov and click on some of the links at that page.
And this is Daniel with Congresswoman Demings' office. One additional resource that I would consider is the Small Business Administration, that is SBA.gov. They have a number of pages regarding business planning, business launching, and available funding programs through the federal government, including COVID programs.
And can you also Service Corps of Retired Executives? A lot of times they partner with AARP. They have free workshops. They may be able to assist you to give you some guidance.
All right, I'd like to go now to Ron in Belle Isle. Ron, you are now live.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Val Demings, in your office for putting this together. I appreciate it. I've got a couple of short questions. First of all, I usually have to pay on my taxes, or at least I have to pay for sure the FICA percentage, and I file by mail so I can put a check in the mail. And now that I want to file electronically, I don't know how to pay electronically. Is there a way to do that?
Yes, there is a way to pay electronically. Oh, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. On IRS.gov, on the home page, there is a link that says Make a Payment. And you can use that link and make a payment electronically.
And Professor Jones, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was intrigued. He said that sometimes he has to pay for FICA. I guess I can't really get into his particulars, but that sort of surprises me that he would need to mail in a check for FICA. You might want to consult a tax advisor regarding that, because FICA is typically withheld at the exact amount that's due each year. Sometimes it might be over. You might have some over withholding if you change jobs, but it surprises me that you'd have to make a payment for your FICA tax. So I would definitely recommend that you consult a tax advisor on that.
Great. Let's go now to Ms. Barron in Winter Garden. You are now live.
Hi, I have a few questions, if you don't mind. I have a 16-year-old daughter who she worked a little bit in 2020 and like a month in 2021, and she only made like probably $1,000, but she also has like a 1099 because she's in an FFA program where she shows cows and she takes them to fair and they get auctioned off. And so she got a 1099. Do we have to file taxes for her, like all under her name for that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and
Yeah.
I just do it under her name and then choose myself as like, or say that she can still be claimed by someone else, correct?
Yes,
I
she
don't
can still
think
be claimed as a defendant. Yes.
Right.
And Tanya, if you wouldn't mind, just to avoid any back and forth, just ask the remainder of your questions and then we can go to them.
Okay. Also, I have a question. I have a family member who hasn't worked like his whole life, and he did file to get like the stimulus payments, and he's never filed a tax return. Does he need to file one this year? And then my last question is I need to see about getting tax forms for my mother-in-law from 2018 and 2019. Is that something that the IRS has and that I can get from the IRS for her?
So
just on your last question, you can download
those
old forms
IRS.
from IRS.gov.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. And then yes, for the family member that's never filed, they will need to file a return in order to get the stimulus. Excuse me, the recovery rebate credit now. It's no longer the stimulus.
But just to piggyback on that, because I'm not quite sure of the question, if your relative who is not required to file, if he received the economic impact payments previously and he received both of them, then he would not have to file a tax return. Only if he didn't receive the economic impact payments would he have to file a tax return to get the recovery rebate credit.
Great. And let's go now to a question from Paula in Ocoee. You are live.
Great. Thank you so much. I have not filed my taxes yet because I'm waiting for the 1099-G, which they said they sent it to me 2 weeks ago, and I still don't have it. Do I need that to file my taxes?
The 1099-G, is that for? Yeah, go on.
That's unemployment. That's for the unemployment, and you need to at least have the amount. And I didn't look, but I thought the website was going to have the information there so you could pull the information to see how much unemployment benefits you'd received, and then also if you had any withholding taken out. So as long as you have the amount, you don't have to have the actual form, but you do want to have the correct amount to include as income on your tax return.
Great. And let's go now to Ms. Stephanie Campbell in Apopka. Ms. Campbell, do we have you with us? Your phone may be muted. All right, looks like we may have lost Stephanie, but just in case anybody else has the same question, her question was, how do I file for an IRS hardship?
If she's saying based on what I had discussed before, she would contact the Congressman Demings' office and complete the privacy, explain what's going on. They'll contact us, and then we're going to ask for documentation to support whatever the hardship she says that she has. Also, you can contact the Taxpayer Advocate Service at 1-877-777-4778, and then they can assist you and create a case also.
Great. And let's go now to Monique in Orlando. Oops, sorry, hang on just one moment. All right, you should now be live.
Yeah. So my question was, if you obtained the LLC in 2020, but the business was not yet active, so that means the business didn't get any income, are you required to file a self-employment return? And then the second question, the SBA grant, how do we report that when filing our income tax report for the IRS? The $1,000 SBA grant that was awarded.
So was the business up and running and you just hadn't earned any income at the time, or had it not, or you're not carrying on business by the time that you mentioned?
Unfortunately, her line is now muted again.
Oh, bummer. Okay. I don't think I'm understanding the first question, but somebody else who understands it, they can go ahead and take it.
Well, but if you have a good answer for either one of those circumstances, please feel free to share it.
Well, I mean, if the business had been established and it was up and running, and it just didn't have any income, I think that the safest thing to do would be to go ahead and file the quarterly return and indicate no income. That would, even if it's not necessary, it still protects her from any penalties that might accrue had she not filed. But I think I need more information as to whether she was actually in business, and she was in business and did not make any income, or she hadn't started the business yet, but that she had filed the registration with the state of Florida or whatever state that she's registered, the LLC is registered in. But the safest thing to do would be go ahead and file the report.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm sorry. I think you answered what her question was, that she was up and running, but the business didn't have any income, and then you went ahead and you told her to go ahead and file a return. And that's what I would recommend, to go ahead and just file a return, zero return, to show, it started, nothing happened. I didn't understand what she was saying about the second. I think she said she got an SBA grant, so I'm not sure of the response for that one.
Neither am I. She did say she got a grant, and I think she was asking whether she had to report that as income. I guess I would need to know what type of grant it was and a little bit more information.
Right. So it sounds like maybe she should get in touch with either the Taxpayer Advocate or with our office. And let's go now to a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yes.
Right. Let's go to a question from Ms. Franco in Orlando. You are now live for your question.
Yes. Hi, good evening. Thank you for hosting these call-ins. My question was about my parents who are elderly in their late 80s. They've been retired for some time now and are on both Social Security and they're also receiving a pension. They were told a few years ago by their tax preparer that they no longer have to file returns, and so they stopped doing that. And so my question, they don't know the reason why, and my question is it, would anyone know if it's because of an age issue or perhaps because of income being low enough? I'm not sure about that. And also, if I can ask a second part to that question is, when the time comes, if in the event that they were required to file returns and they do owe taxes, if that's the case, what would be would something happen to their estate? What they have left, at the time that they pass?
Hi, this is Linda. Yes. To answer the first question, if they had a filing requirement, it would be income based. There's no age based where you are a certain age and you don't have to file tax returns anymore. So it would be income based. But if they didn't get the economic impact payments, they do need to file a tax return to claim the recovery rebate credits.
All right.
And then you
Let's
could
go
also
now.
go.
No, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say you could also go to publication 17 and look under filing requirements for online for the specific years, and it will tell you based on the income whether they should have filed or not. They were getting an extra amount for being 65 or older. So I would look at that and go ahead if there is a filing requirement, possibly file the returns. But if they haven't been getting notices, they've been living at the same address, they probably don't have a filing requirement, or IRS would have already reached out to them, more than likely.
Great. Let's go now to a question from Sharon Lambert. You are now live for your question.
Yeah, hello, I have a question, and I want to, again, acknowledge the appreciation for answering questions. And I have been filing my taxes myself on forms and paper, and I rely on instructions and publications. Someone brought up publication 17. I was just looking and noticing they've removed a lot of the chapters. The Congresswoman's office has been gracious in providing me photocopies of publication 17 since the government IRS stopped providing them to taxpayers like me. I have concerns about having these publications available. I called the IRS on the number that Ms. Bergman referenced. On February 4th, I spoke with a Miss Nelson there, and she said none of the publications are available, or none of the instructions are available, but she could send out the 1040 form and Schedule B, and that was it. I requested forms from past returns. They're not available. Last year, into the middle of the year for the 2019 tax returns, I was unable to get some of the forms up until July. I mean, even after July. This makes it really impossible to file if I can't get the publications and the instructions. I do not qualify for the online filing for free. I don't want to have to go to a tax preparer. I really would like to prepare my own with the assistance of the IRS. I also normally pay my taxes estimated quarterly payments, and I generally would get an encoded form from the IRS sent to me automatically. Hasn't happened this year. I'm hoping that Congress will consider extending the filing date. I really don't want it to be extended, except I don't want to be forced after someone to... Yes.
Sorry, let's go to our experts to try to get you an answer for your question.
I don't know if you're like me, you might not be as computer savvy as my children, but you can get publication 17. You can download that, and if you don't have a computer in your home, maybe you can go to your local library and use their computer. But you can download publication. I'm looking at 2020 publication 17 on my computer right now. Like if I needed to, I could print it out. And if you have access to computer, I'm almost certain that you can get all the forms that you need. I mean, they're just all over the place on the internet, including at the IRS page. I didn't catch the other questions.
And this is Linda Berkman. I would call that forms number again. I know that the 1040 instructions are available because, like I said, I received them. I ordered them online, and I received the instructions for the 1040. So as publications become available, you should be able to either, call the 1-800-829-3676 or order them online.
Right. I'd like to go to Susan Fisher now for a question. You are now live.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm a parent with an adult child who's a full-time student. And my question relates to getting the stimulus payment for my son, who up until 2020 never had a job. Obviously, for my 16-year-old, he was included in, I received the stimulus payment for him, but how does one claim the money for someone who's an adult dependent who wouldn't be filing their own taxes?
Okay, the economic stimulus payment or the recovery rebate, they have certain eligibility criteria, and in order to claim it for a dependent, the dependent would have to be under the age of 17. Otherwise, you can't claim the economic impact or the recovery rebate credit for your dependent that is over the age of 17. An adult can claim the recovery rebate credit if they cannot be claimed as a dependent of somebody else.
All right, let's go to another question now from Robert in Winter Garden. Robert, you are now live.
Thanks, Congresswoman and panelists. I have a couple questions. One real quick. Can my wife, who is doing the at-home schooling, get the teacher credit? And other question is, I've been trying to get a hold of anybody in the government or the IRS to help me reconcile an issue that I've had from my past IRS withholdings, and it's been profoundly impossible for me to get anyone on the actual phone line. And the third thing is, it's kind of strange that the government can take your money after not filing for 3 years, but can come after you for more than that. Thank you.
Okay, as far as the educator expense deduction, that it would be for the classroom, for personal protection equipment for the classroom. So I'd have to look more into that if you want to contact the Congresswoman's office, but it does say for a classroom. And I didn't get, what's the second part of the question?
The part I heard
they
is
can
that
talk about IRS charging interest. They can charge more than he actually owed. But IRS pays interest on money they've withheld from you, and so if you owe them, they do charge interest on that money and penalties.
And if you never file the return, unfortunately, the statute of limitations never really runs out. So they could, if they really, theoretically, they could go back 10 years if you haven't filed at all. So it's in your best interest to start that clock running by going ahead and trying to file a return. And you can contact, if you can't get through to the IRS, you can contact them and ask them for a tax transcript, which will show what income has been reported to the IRS as having been paid to you. For example, if you can't find your old pay stubs or W-2, you can get a tax transcript from the IRS, and that'll at least get you started. But you got to file your return in order to start the statute of limitations, and then sort of put an end to this sort of stress that you're probably under for that reason.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder to everybody to go ahead and press 1 on your phones to make sure you get future information on this topic. Let's go now to a question from Nicole in Orlando. Nicole, you are live. Do we have Nicole with us?
Hi.
Hello.
I just want to say good evening to everybody, and thank you for being active and allowing us to ask these questions. My question is, are incarcerated individuals eligible to receive economic impact payments? And if not, what penalties prevent them?
Okay, if I understood your question, you want to know if incarcerated individuals can receive the economic impact payment. Incarcerated individuals can receive the recovery rebate credit by filing the 2020 tax return. Initially, they did not receive the economic impact payment 1, but that has been changed, and now if they did not receive the economic impact payment 1 or 2, they can file a tax return and claim it as the recovery rebate credit on line 30 of the 1040.
Great. Let's go now to a question from Ben in Orlando. Ben, you are live.
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
My question is, in 2019, I made more income, which was I made more income than 2020. I did not receive the stimulus for this, the last one. So my question is, should I file 2020 so that I can be qualified for the upcoming stimulus?
Yes, you should file a 2020. Oh, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. If you were not eligible in 2019 for the economic impact payment, but your income is lower and it makes you eligible in 2020, since it was an advanced credit for 2020, you should definitely file an income tax return and claim the recovery rebate credit on the 2020 tax return. And there's a worksheet, a recovery rebate worksheet that you can fill out that will help you figure out how much of the the recovery rebate credit that you are entitled to.
Great.
And I want to. Can I piggyback onto that?
Please go ahead.
You didn't say if you're eligible for the earned income tax credit or not, but there is a provision in the law this year that if you earned more income in 2019 than you did in 2020, you could use the 2019 income to calculate your earned income tax credit. And that will be on line 27 of the form. You'll put letters P, Y, E, I. You'll need your 2019 return to show what your earned income is, and you'll put it on the dotted line there. And the provision will allow you to, again, get the larger earned income credit based on your higher earnings from the prior year.
Great. And let's go now to Adina in Orlando. But before we do, thank you again to everybody for your patience. We are working through the call list. And if you do have a question, go ahead and press *3 on your phone. Now let's go to Adina from Orlando.
Hello, and thank you very much for what you're doing. I appreciate it very much. In 2020, January 2020, I went into a retirement that will continue to, I will continue to live until I pass on. And I bought into this with that in mind. And I received a letter from them stating that I would be able to deduct 17% of my entrance fee on my taxes for the year of 2020, and then it doesn't really tell me any forms that I can use. And as it said, the Internal Revenue Service has issued publication 554, Older Americans Tax Guide, and publication 502, Medical and Dental Expense. So this publication will give you information regarding the medical deductions. But then it follows up by saying that it's been furnished by the Presbyterian retirement communities, but to consult with a tax advisor to determine if these deductions are allowable. So it tells me that I can, but then it tells me to consult to find out if they are. So it's got me confused, and it also doesn't give any forms that I would need to use, and I usually do my taxes on TurboTax. So any information on that?
So you're in are you saying you're living in a retirement community, or you're getting a retirement annuity from a particular source? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess she's not.
Sorry, she has been muted now, but it's an assisted living facility, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't really answer that question, but she can contact the Congresswoman's office, and we can, get a subject matter expert to take a look at the information she was provided and possibly, get a response, or she may need to see a preparer. But we can, send it to a subject matter expert to see if we can get her a response.
Great. So, ma'am, go ahead and call us tomorrow during working hours at 321-388-9808, and we can begin to get into that question. So let's go now to John. John, you are live to ask your question.
Hello?
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 We can hear you.
Yes, my name is John. I was calling, I was wondering, on this source, during the pandemic, I was working at the airport, and then they had to stop the airport, so where I was working at, I think they closed, so I filed for unemployment. Now, I'm still looking for a job. I've been out of work since the pandemic. It's been hard, but I was wondering, do I file any income tax for unemployment, or I don't understand how this goes because it's my first time on unemployment.
Unemployment
yes, you would
benefits
file
aren't
a
taxable.
return. Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going
Well, I
to
was going to say just what you're
work
saying,
a
so
little bit.
you can go ahead. No,
Okay.
yeah, the benefits are taxable, so you have to file a return, yes.
And include the W-2 income that he got for part of the year. It all should be on the same
Correct.
return.
Right.
Great. Thank you for that answer. I would flag that the Congresswoman has co-sponsored legislation to make pandemic unemployment assistance tax-free. So we are watching to see what happens with that legislation. Let's go now to a question from Tom in Orlando. Tom, you are now live.
Yes, thank you. IRS has a requirement that for taxpayers over 70 years old, there's a minimum distribution from their IRA required. That was waived because of the virus, I believe, for the tax 2019. Will that be waived for this year as well?
This is Linda from the Internal Revenue Service. We don't have any guidance on that at the moment, so it hasn't been waived yet, but it was waived. I believe it was in 2020.
All right. Samdai in Orlando, you are now live.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. My question. I have two questions. First, I have a 1040X that's been in the redetermination office since 2019. And they owe me a sum of money for a refund. I didn't have anything in collections at the time, but they took the money that I was owed anyway. I've been calling. And it seems that the timeline for that refund that's owed to me keeps moving with no end in sight. So I'm curious, when are they actually going to be sending out anything? And two, one of the moderators mentioned that the stimulus is considered advanced tax credits. So are we expected to be paying that back when we file taxes next year? Or how does that get, or is it going to be reducing our tax in another year? That's it.
Yeah, the tax credit is a refundable credit, so you don't have to pay it back.
And in regards to the 1040X, it depends on when you send it in, because remember, the IRS is only processing paper filed returns up to July 15th. So if it was prior to that, then you may want to contact Congresswoman Demings' office, so they'll do a referral to our office and we can follow up. Otherwise, if it was after the July 15th, then you're going to need to allow some more time. They are still backlogged.
Great. And I do see a few people here in the queue with questions that are very specific about their personal case. If you are one of those individuals and we don't get to you, please do call our office tomorrow and we can look into that issue for you. For now, let's go to Ms. Yusufu in Orlando. Yep, you're on. Hello?
Hello?
Are you with us? Yep, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, I already recorded my question.
I am a full-time student, and I have no income. I didn't file 2019, so I missed the first and second. I filed this year's income tax in order to get stimulus. I'm still student and no job. Am I eligible to get all three of them?
Yes, you're eligible. There's two right now that are definite, and you are eligible to get the recovery rebate credit. As long as nobody can claim you as a dependent on their tax return, you can file a 2020 tax return, and on line 30, you would take the recovery rebate credit.
Great. Let's go now to a question from Mr. Darris-Britt in Orlando. Mr. Darris-Britt, are you with us? All right, looks like we may have lost him. Let's go to a question from Charlie. Charlie, you are now live.
Hello. Can
Hello?
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right. My questions are in three parts. First, why was the EIP a non-taxable issue incorporated in the tax return? And the second, why was the or who was eligible to get the EIP for the second return, and who determined who would get it and who wouldn't? And is the EIP still not available to someone who passed away in 2020?
Great, thank you for that, Charlie.
Okay, so the eligibility requirements for the economic impact payment is based on income, and if somebody can claim you as a dependent, and there are certain, I don't have it right in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up, but basically, if somebody made $150,000 or less if married filing a joint return, or $112,500 less if filing head of household, or $75,000 or less filing as any other filing status. You're eligible if you cannot be claimed as a dependent on another taxpayer's return. You have to have a Social Security number valid for employment, and somebody who was deceased before 2020 was not eligible for the economic impact payment before January 1st, 2020.
And Daniel, can I just mention quickly, because I have to teach a class in a few minutes, I want to mention that the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association is providing free tax preparation assistance for lower income Orange County residents. You can call 407-841-8310. They're doing tax preparation assistance virtually. If you call that number, they can help you file your 2020 tax return.
Great. All right, let's go now to a question from Diana. Diana, you are live for your question.
Yes, hi. Hi, Dan. Thank you, Congresswoman Val Demings, for having this town hall. I found it very informative. My question is directed mainly would be at Ms. Bergman. We got the first stimulus check after having to go online because we usually have to pay each year. And I finally got that, but we did not get the second one. And the reason it comes back is it says there's not enough information on the 2019 return. I'm assuming that even though they cashed our check last year, they're still processing it, like you said. So would we still go ahead and claim the rebate on line 30 then of 1040?
Yes, you would, and thank you for that question. You are probably absolutely correct in that your 2019 tax return is probably not processed yet, and that is what caused you not to get the second economic impact payment. So go ahead and claim it as a recovery rebate on your 2020 tax return.
Great. Let's go now to a question from Mr. Ortiz in Apopka. Mr. Ortiz, you are live.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you all for doing this for us. Hopefully, I can participate every year on this. I have two questions, actually. My first question is, I heard there's a lot of talks about child tax credit. That will be, I think it's like 3,600, I believe, and going up until 16 or 17 is 3,000. Now I'm confused. Is that implemented for this year's tax, or how that works?
And what was your second question?
My second question is, for the people that due to COVID that work from home, some people had expenses on desks, office equipment, monitors to work from home. Is that something that can we deduct that in this year's tax return as well?
I'm going to answer the second question because the first question I think might be about the new legislation that hasn't been signed yet, but I'm not sure. So the second question, if you worked from home, if you work from your home and you had expenses, however, you're an employee, meaning that you get paid wages and you're a W-2 wage employee, you cannot deduct home office expense. If you're running a business from your home and you're self-employed, then you can deduct those expenses.
And I'll talk about the first question. In fact, just today, the House of Representatives, the committee that handles tax legislation, has approved legislation that would increase the child tax credit to $3,000 per child, $3,600 for each child under 6 years old, and make it fully refundable and advanceable. But it's correct that it has not yet been passed because it has to go to the Senate. But it has cleared House Ways and Means Committee, which is a major hurdle, and probably suggests that it will be passed by the House, and then once it's passed by the Senate, then it'll go to President Biden's office for signature. And so the bill is intended to apply immediately, not or even retroactively, because it's a rescue plan. It's called the American Rescue Plan, but it has not yet been enacted.
Right. Let's go now to a question from Haley in Orlando. Haley, you are live.
Hi, how's it going? My question is about the 1099-G forms. I received mine, but the amount the document is stating I was given is incorrect, and I can't seem to get a hold of anyone in the Florida Unemployment Office, and I can't file my taxes until I get that form amended. How would I go about that? I mean, can I go somewhere, or is there a different number I can call, or what do I do?
That's
what I would do.
Work out with them, I believe. Work out with the unemployment office.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should go ahead and go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead and finish what. Yeah.
Well, whatever form that they sent you, whatever form they sent the taxpayer, they've already provided a copy to the Internal Revenue Service. And when you file your taxes, if you put a different amount on there, you need to state your in an addendum, just a separate page, state your reasoning for putting a different amount than is shown on the 1099-G, and that will alert them to your position that there is a discrepancy, and And in the meantime, you should continue trying to get in contact with the notoriously unreachable office, unfortunately. But and you know, you might contact your state representative, since it's a state issue. Whoever your state representative is, you might contact them to see if you can get some help.
Great. Let's go now to a question from Robert in Orlando. Robert, you are now live.
Hi. My case is that I'm a Social Security disability, and my son, who's an adult that's not working, is taking care of me. So I go through the ACA for his medical. I was on a work program part-time in 2019, so I started getting unemployment insurance, but I didn't know how much I'd be getting, and now I get a letter from the ACA that's asking by the end of this month to give them amount that I made. So I'm confused how people that was getting unemployment insurance and the ACA, how's that going to work, because I get that 1095 form from them.
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't know that answer. And if you could go contact the Congresswoman's office, we'll look into it. Get a subject matter expert that will be able to give you some guidance on that.
Yeah, so please do give us a call tomorrow at 321-388-9808. And let's go now to a question from Marcy in Orlando. Marcy, you are now live.
Hi.
Hello.
I had my daughter early of 2020, before the pandemic became a thing in the state. And when the relief was being given out to everyone, they were going off of my 2019 taxes, which my daughter had not been born yet. And I was not compensated for my daughter for the entire year. So what do I do to seek relief for having my daughter early in 2020 and I guess claim the funds so that I can, support her moving forward?
Right. So
thank you.
Great question. When you file your tax return, you can claim the recovery rebate credit for your daughter on line 30, and you would use the worksheet, the recovery rebate worksheet, to see how much credit you would get, because I'm presuming that you got economic impact payments for yourself, but you didn't get the ones for the dependent. So you can claim it on your 2020 tax return. And if you file your return electronically with a software company, basically they'll figure out for you how much the credit is when you answer all the questions when you through the software company.
Okay, Daniel, I want to thank you for allowing me to participate. My students are waiting for me on my Zoom class now. If I can be of any assistance, please have Congresswoman Demings or you can contact me. And I want to thank my co-panelists, because I learned as much as the audience did from both of them. So thank you very much.
And thank you.
Professor Jones, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your expertise tonight.
Okay. Stay healthy, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
We are getting near to the end of our call here. We'll do probably a couple more questions. Everybody who has not had your question answered, please be aware we will be reaching out, and you can reach out to our office anytime at 321-388-9808. Let's do one last question, and it's Mr. Dale in Ocoee. Please go ahead. Dale, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, my question is dealing with, I just recently discovered, as a matter of fact, today, that I believe that in a fraud incident with my unemployment. I had never filed for unemployment through the whole pandemic. I've been working, and my brother is in the same boat. We both have received paper checks to my mom's residence, and I was wondering how this could affect my filing of my unemployment with something going on like this. I haven't really started figuring out what's going on with it. Why are we receiving these checks, and why are we receiving these letters in another location? But how would that affect my taxes if I was to go to file and there was something to be wrong?
If you received a 1099, go on, Yvette.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, if you received the 1099-G under your name and your number, technically it was reported on you. You may want to file a form 14039 for stolen identity, and you're filing that with the IRS. But did you return the check to, I would make a copy and mark it void and return the checks to the unemployment office to help make your case that this was not you, you did not file this, and once your identity is stolen, it's just a long process to get it resolved. Linda, were you going to add something else?
Just to piggyback about the Form 14039 identity theft affidavit, it would be very important for you, because clearly you're probably a victim of identity theft, for you to send that form to the IRS to make IRS aware that you are you possibly the victim of identity theft.
All right, with that, we are unfortunately out of time tonight. I do see we have several questions that have gone unanswered, so please be aware we will reach out to you by email if we have your information. If you do not hear from us, please do contact our office. Anybody who is still on the line who had a question they did not get to answer, please reach out to us. We are here to help you. And I will turn it now to Congresswoman Demings for a few final words.
Daniel, thank you so much. And I want to just take just a moment to thank my entire staff for this evening. I want to thank our outstanding panelists. Just listening to the experts helps my office to better be able to deliver the best service to you. Linda Berkman, Yvette Artis-Britt, and Professor Darryll Jones, who ran off to his class. I just loved hearing that. I cannot thank you enough for being with us tonight. We always need more time. There's no doubt about that. But I do hope that the information that our experts were able to share and the questions that were answered was helpful. To those who were advised to call our office for casework, please do so. We look forward to hearing from you tomorrow and the days to come. Remember, the number is 321-388-9808. I know this is a very trying time, but I am also confident that we will get through it. If you have suggestions for other topics for teletown halls, I think we need to have another IRS economic development or assistance town hall ×2. But if you do have suggestions for other topics, please do not hesitate to share those with us. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Take care, stay safe, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.